Hi, friends. It's Michael Kostroff. I'm starting this week with a plug for those of you who are in Chicago. I'm here in town doing a very funny play called Judgment Day at Chicago Shakespeare Theater with Jason Alexander. It's hilarious. And we just opened last night, which is why my voice is tired. This is from the party, not from the show. But people are laughing their heads off. So I hope you will get a chance to come see it. Appropriately, the question that I'm addressing this week is about the theater. So let me read it to you. I'm keeping the writer anonymous for reasons that will be obvious. Dear Michael, the show must go on. Many of us have had this notion drilled into us, especially those who have done a lot of regional theater, where there are many times no understudies. I feel one good thing that's come out of the pandemic is a greater appreciation and respect for understudies and the realization that hiring understudies is a smart and necessary move. Right on. When should an understudy go on? And who makes that decision? This past weekend, an actor in our show came down with a very sudden case of laryngitis. He croaked his way through the matinee and was barely audible for the evening show. He has an understudy who was ready to go on, but the actor insisted on doing the performances rather than calling out. He came back to do the Sunday evening show. His voice was barely improved. It was so noticeable and not good. I was so confused and frustrated. I don't understand how this actor thought it was better for him to barely get through the show than allow his understudy to do the job he was hired for. What is an actor's responsibility to the integrity of the show in this case? Should you always go on if you possibly can, even not at your best? At what point do you consider the quality of the show and step aside? Is it always up to the actor, or can stage management make that call? I overheard another actor tell the actor with laryngitis that, quote, the audience doesn't care, unquote, and I thought maybe, but don't we? Shouldn't we? Anonymous. This is such a good question. Thank you for writing in. The show must go on is a great tradition in theater, and it's one that I believe in. But it's the show, not the performer, that needs to go on. A lot of questions about theater are easily solved by asking what's in the best interest of the audience who we serve. And here's a link to comment as well. What's in the best interest of the audience? That should always be priority number one. So, if going on in your role, if you have an understudy, if going on in your role is going to diminish the experience of the audience, then that's the time to call out and have your understudy do what your understudy was hired to do. By the way, I am understudying Jason Alexander in this play. I hope he will not go out because people mostly come to see him. But my honor is in being the SWAT team that flies in and saves the day if need be. And that's what that job is. So it's something to consider. I have in my day called out because I couldn't sing a role because I didn't have the notes, or if there was an injury and I couldn't do the physical part of my job, got to call out because I don't want the audience worrying about me or not able to understand the show. So in the case that you're talking about, clearly this person should have called out. If it's an uncomfortable sound for the audience, it's distracting from the story and we're not serving them. It is up to the performer. As far as I know, I don't think a stage manager can force you to call out. I'm not sure. I believe that the performer has to make that decision. I'm not sure about that. Check me on that and get back to me. But it can be very selfish to push through and insist on going on. It can ultimately be a very selfish act and maybe not as noble as we think. The answer to your question is the actor's responsibility is to not diminish the experience for the audience. And I think that's very important. Now, on the other side of this conversation, having nothing to do with your letter, I've heard from some of my friends that folks who are new to the profession and maybe haven't been trained properly will call out because they're in a bad mood, because they're sad, or because they have a headache. And I think that's monumentally unprofessional, shockingly unprofessional. Having a job in theater, in show business at all, is such an honor. You've been entrusted with telling a story, and you should never call out frivolously. You should never call out because you just don't feel like it. It's just that option is not available to you. That's not without compromising your professionalism, and it certainly doesn't speak well to your reputation. And it's the kind of thing that does get around. You were chosen to be in the cast that the audience sees, and unless you're not able to do the job, you should be on that stage. I have performed with aches and pains and injuries and a tired voice and you know, the darkness that sometimes descends on me. I've been honest about sharing that I suffer from depression, and you know, I've had to perform in the midst of a bout with depression, and you just put on your big boy pants and go on. You gotta. That's when the old adage really applies. When you're like, buck up, you know. There's. I'm thinking of the exact lyrics to "There's No Business Like Show Business." There's a section that goes, "You get word before the show is started that your favorite uncle died at dawn. Furthermore, your ma and pa have parted. You're brokenhearted, but you go on." That's what that's about, and that's a proud tradition in theater. So, so if you're going to join the ranks of this fine, noble profession, you should embrace that ethic. And the two things are actually related. It's all about giving the audience the best possible show. So I'm glad to get a question about theater while I'm doing theater, and about understudying while I'm understudying. If anyone has reliable information, I should have researched this before recording this. I will. About whether or not the stage manager can force you to call out. Let me know. I will see you all next week with more thoughts. Be well, and come see Judgment Day if you can. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend it if it wasn't hilarious. All right, bye.